Shri Mahaganapathye Namaha. Om Shri Mahasaraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Atha Shriman Narayaneeyam Dashaka 23 Daksha Charitam Chitraketu Pakyanam Vritra Vadha Varnanam Marudutpatti Varnanam Cha. The history of Daksha, the life of Chitraketu, the description of the slaying of Vritra and the birth of the Maruts. Prachetasastu Bhagavanna Parohi Dakshas Tvatsevanam Vyadita Sarga Vivriddhi Kamaha Avir Babuvita Tadala Sadashta Bahus Tasmai Varam Dadita Tamcha Vadhumasiknim. The above verse, having 14 syllables in each quarter, is composed in the Vasanta Tilaka meter. Daksha was the son of Prachetas. His mother was Varshi, the daughter of the trees, who is also known as Marisha, the daughter of Apsaras from Locha. This Daksha is different from the Daksha Prajapati, the son of Brahma. Prachetasa Daksha, who wanted to multiply the creation, worshipped God Vishnu to seek his blessings. The Bhagavata Puranam in the 6th skanda describes that Daksha went to the mountains near Vindhyachala and performed great austerities. In that region there was a very sacred lake called Aghamarshana, which washed away the sins of the people bathing in it. Daksha bathed in its waters thrice a day and chanted the Hansa Guhya Stotram in praise of God Vishnu. The pleased God made his appearance in front of Daksha with 8 resplendent arms holding the disc, the conch, the sword, the armor, the arrow, the bow, the noose, and the mace. Daksha prostrated before the god. The god blessed him with wife Asikni, the daughter of Panchajana Prajapati, and granted him the boon to multiply creation. Now, coming to the verse, Hey Bhagavan, O Bhagavan, Prachetasaha, the son of Prachetas, Aparaha, other than the son of Brahma, Dakshaha he, Daksha indeed, Sarga Vivriddhi Kamaha, interested in multiplying the creation, Tvat Sevanam Vyadita, worshipped you, Tada Lasad Ashtabahuhu, then you, shining with 8 arms, Avir Babuvita, manifested yourself in front of him. Tasmai Varam Tam Asiknim Vadumcha Dadita, and you gave him Asikni as his wife and also a boon. Tasyatmajastvayutamisha punasahasram Srinaradasya vachasa tava margamapuhu Naikatra vasam rishaye samumocha shapam Bhaktotamastu rishiranugrahameva mene. Prachetasa Daksha and his wife Asikni got 10,000 sons called Haryashvas. All the sons had the same behavior and nature. When Daksha instructed them to get progeny, they went towards the western direction with a view to perform penance. In that direction, in the confluence of the river Sindhu and the ocean, there was a great lake called the Narayana. Great sages and siddhas lived there. When Haryashvas bathed in the holy lake, their mind became sanctified and was filled with devotion to God. Even then, to honor the words of their father Daksha, they observed a strict penance. At that time, sage Narada gave them a riddle, and the intelligent Haryashvas, understanding it, decided that they should all strive to attain salvation only, and all of them became renunciates. When Daksha came to know that his virtuous sons have got influenced by Narada's words, he became sorrowful. Brahma consoled Daksha. Again, Daksha got 1,000 sons called the Shabalashvas. They also, as per the wishes of their father Daksha, decided to perform penance for getting progeny and reached the same Narayana Sara where their elder brothers got enlightenment. Shabalashvas went and bathed in the lake. Immediately their mind became purified and they began chanting the Omkara and became engrossed in a great penance. The Shabalashvas engaged in worshipping Vishnu for getting good progeny. Again sage Narada came there and asked them to follow the path of their elder brothers. Following Narada's advice, Shabalashvas also became renunciates and turned away from worldly life. Daksha came to know that Shabalashvas have also listened to Narada's words, and he became very angry with Narada and cursed him that the sage will have no place in any world and he will always be moving about from place to place. The great sage Narada accepted Daksha's curse, thinking that it is a boon, as he will not be developing any attachment towards any place, as he will keep on moving. Coming to the verse, Isha Tasya Atmajaha tu, O Lord, his sons, Ayutam 10,000, Punaha Sahasram, again 1,000, Sri Naradasya Vachasa, by the words of Sri Narada, Tava Margam Apuhu, took to your path of renunciation. Saha Rishaye, he, Daksha, to the sage Narada, Naikatra Vasam Shapam Mumocha, discharge the curse that he won't live in any one place. Tu Bhaktotamaha Rishihi, but the sage, the foremost among the devotees, Anugraham eva mene, considered it as a blessing only. Shashtya tato duhitribisrijata kulaugan dauhitra sunurata tasya sa vishwarupaha tvatstotra varmitamajapayadindra majau devatvadiya mahima kalu sarvajaitraha. When all the 11,000 sons of Prachetasa Daksha became renunciates, he became very sad. and he was pacified by God Brahma. Again, Daksha got 60 very affectionate daughters. Daksha gave 10 daughters in marriage to Dharmadeva, 13 daughters in marriage to the sage Kashyapa, 27 daughters in marriage to the moon, and Daksha gave 2 daughters each in marriage to the sage Angiras, Krishashva, and Bhuta. Again, 4 daughters of Daksha became the wives of Tarshya or Kashyapa. From these marriages were born the Vishvedevas, the Sadhyas, the Devas, the Asuras, the Gandharvas, the Apsaras, the Pitris, the sages like Devala, the Bhutaganas, the Garuda, and the Nagas. Thus, Daksha multiplied the creation through his 60 daughters. Daksha's daughter Aditi had the 12 Adityas as her sons. Of these, the fourth son was Tvashta. He married Rachana, the younger sister of the Daityas. Vishwarupa was one of the sons of Tvashta and Rachana. Vishwarupa was thus having his lineage from both the Devas and the Asuras. Once Indra insulted his preceptor Brihaspati, and so Brihaspati disappeared. Without a proper preceptor, the Devas became powerless and they could not withstand the assault of the Asuras. Following God Brahma's advice, Indra made Vishwarupa as the preceptor of the gods. Vishwarupa taught the stotram Narayana Kavacha to Indra. Because of the glory of that stotram, Indra became victorious in the battle against the Asuras. The well-known Narayana Kavacham is present in the 8th Adhyaya of the 6th Skanda of the Bhagavata Mahapurana. Now coming to the verse, Tataha then Shashtya Duhitribihi with 60 daughters. Kulaugan Srijataha, Daksha who was creating the lineage, Tasya his, Dohitra Sunuhu, the son of his daughter's son, Saha Vishwarupaha, that Vishwarupa, Ata Indram, Indra, Tvastotra Varmitam, making him armored by your stotra, the stotra of God Vishnu, Ajau Ajapayat. In the battle, he made Indra recite the stotra and made him victorious. Deva, O Lord, O effulgent Lord, Tvadiya Mahima, your glory, Sarva Jaitraha Kalu, indeed it makes one win over all others. Prakshurasena Vishaye Kila Chitraketu Putra Grahin Ripatirangi Prabhavat Labdvaika Putra Matatatra Hate Sapatni Sangaira Muhyadavashastava Mayayasau. It is told that there was a great king Chitraketu in the Shurasena country who was very prosperous. He had many wives but no progeny. Due to this, the king was not happy. Once the sage Angiras came to the king, and the king requested the sage to help him get a son. The kind-hearted sage got a special oblation prepared for God Tvashta and propitiated him. He offered the remainder of the oblation to Kritadyuti, who was the eldest and the foremost queen of Chitraketu. The sage Angiras also told Chitraketu that a son will be born to him soon, but he will be a source of joy as well as a source of grief to the king. In course of time, a son was born to Kritadyuti, who caused delight to all the people. The king showered all his attention on the child and its mother. The other co-wives became very jealous, and one day they killed the child. When the king and queen came to know that the child was no more, their sorrow knew no bounds. The entire royal household was plunged in grief. Now, coming to the verse, Prag Shurasena Vishaye. Once upon a time in the kingdom of Shurasena, Chitraketuhu Nripatihi, the king Chitraketu, Putragrahi Kila, wanted a son, it is told. Asau, that king, Angirasaha Prabhavat, by the power of the sage Angiras, Ekam Putram Labdva Atha, then getting a son, Tatra Sapatni Sangaihi Hate, when the child was killed by the co-wives. Tava Mayaya Avashaha Amuhyat, overcome by grief because of your Maya, by the Maya of God Vishnu, the king fainted. Tam naradastu samamangirasadayaluhu samprapya tavadupadarshya sutasya jivam kasyasmi putra iti tasya gira vimoham tyaktva tvadarchana vidhau nripatim nyayunkta. Then the divine sage Narada went to King Chitraketu along with the sage Angiras and showed the Jivatma of the son of Chitraketu to him and spoke thus, O Jivatma, look at your mother and father. Your friends, relatives and all others are grieving for you. Entering your body and surrounded by your well-wishers, enjoy the pleasures given by your father and ascend the royal throne. The Jiva said, according to my karma, I have taken the form of devatas, human beings, animals and birds in countless births. Of those, in which birth are these people my parents? Further, the Jiva said, the Jiva is eternal. As long as Jiva lives in the body, till then only the Jiva considers it as his own. There is no birth or death to this Jiva. So saying, the Jivatma went away. Hearing the words of the Jivatma, Chitraketu gave up his delusion and became engaged in the worship of the God. Now, coming to the verse, Dayaluhu Naradahatu, the compassionate Narada, Tavat, then, Angirasa Samam, along with the sage Angiras, Tam Samprapya, reaching him, reaching Chitraketu, Sutasya Jivam, the Jiva of his son, Upadarsha, showing him, Asmi Kasya Putraha, whose son am I? Iti Tasya Gira, thus by his speech, moham tyaktva, leaving his delusion, Nripatim, the king, Tvad Archana Vidau Nyayungta, engaged the king in propitiating God Vishnu. Stotram cha mantramapi naradato talabdva toshaya shesha vapusho nanute tapasyan विद्याधराधिपतितां सहि सप्तरात्रे लब्ध्वाप्यकुण्ठमतिरन्वभजद्भवन्तम्. From the divine sage Narada, the enlightened Chitraketu got the stotra and the mantra to worship the god in the form of Adishesha. The first shloka of the stotra taught to Chitraketu by Narada is Om Namastubhyam Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumnaya Niruddhaya Namas Sankarshanaya Cha. Bhagavata Puranam, 6th Skanda, 16th Adhyaya, 18th verse, which means salutations to you in all your four manifestations as the divine Vasudeva, as Pradyumna, as Aniruddha, and as Sankarshana. The mantra imparted by Sri Narada to Chitraketu is Om Namo Bhagavate Mahapurushaya Mahanubhavaya Mahavibhuti Pataye Sakala Satvata Parivridanikara Karakamala Kudmalopalalita Charanaravinda Yugala Parama Parameshtin Namaste. Bhagavata Puranam, 6th Skanda, 16th Adhyaya, 25th passage, which means Om, salutations to Bhagavan, the great glorious God, the Lord of all riches, the Lord whose lotus-like feet are gently fondled by all the great devotees with their lotus bud-like hands. Again and again my salutations to the Supreme God. King Chitraketu worshipped the god only to please him and not for gaining any favor. The pleased god elevated him to the position of the Lord of the Vidyadharas, the semi-divine beings, in the short period of 7 days. After attaining that elevated status, King Chitraketu did not stop his adoration for the god but kept on worshipping him. Now, coming to the verse, Ata then, Sahahi, that king indeed, Naradataha stotram cha mantram api labdva, from Narada getting that stotra and the mantra also, Shesha Vapushaha te toshaya nanu, surely for pleasing you only, who are in the form of Adishesha, Tapasyan Saptaratre, practicing penance for 7 days, Vidyadharadhipatitam, he became the chief of the Vidyadharas, Labdhva api, though getting that position of the chief of the Vidyadharas, Akuntamatihi, with his devotion to God undiminished, Bhavantam Anvabhajat, he kept on worshipping the god. Tasmai mrinaladhabalena sahasrashirshna Rupena baddanuti siddhaganavritena Pradurbhavanna chirato nuti biprasanno दत्त्वात्म तत्त्वमनुगृह्य तिरोददात. When King Chitraketu worshipped God Vishnu in the form of Adishesha, the pleased God manifested in front of him in the same form. The god had 1,000 heads, and he was white like a lotus fiber. He was surrounded by the group of Siddhas who were singing his glory. The god gave the knowledge of the Supreme Self to King Chitraketu and then disappeared. Now coming to the verse, Mrinala Dhavalena, white like the lotus fiber, Sahasra Shirshna with 1,000 heads, Baddhanuti Siddhagana Avritena Rupena, with a form surrounded by a group of Siddhas doing praises. Achirataha Pradurbhavan, appearing soon. Nutibihi Prasannaha, pleased with the hymns. Atma Tattvam Dattva, imparting the Atma Tattva. Anugrihya Tirodadata, after blessing Chitraketu, the god disappeared. Twadbhaktamaulirathasopi cha lakshalaksham varshani harshulamana bhuvaneshu kamam sangapayan gunaganam tava sundaribihi sangatireka-rahito lalitam chachara. After getting the blessing of God Vishnu, the great devotee Chitraketu for many lakhs of years lived happily, making the beautiful ladies sing the praise of God. He lived without excessive attachment to worldly things and moved about freely in the worlds. Coming to the verse, Ata Tvad Bhakta Maulihi, then the foremost devotee of yours, Saha Api Tava Guna Ganam, he also your merits, Sundari Bihi, by the beautiful women, Lalitam Sangapayan, making them beautifully sing, Sanga Atireka Rahitaha, without excessive attachment to worldly things, Harshula Manaha, with a happy mind, Laksha Laksham Varshani, lakhs and lakhs of years, Bhuvaneshu Kamam Chachara, moved about freely in the worlds. Atyanta Sanga Vilayaya Bhavat Pranunno Nunam Sarupya Girimapya Mahat Samaje Nishankamanka Kritavallabha Mangajarim Tam Shankaram Parihasannumaya-abhishepe. Once Chitraketu, the chief of the Vidyadharas, reached the mountain Kailasa and criticized and laughed at Shiva, who had placed Parvati on his lap in the assembly of great people. Shiva is called Angajari. Angaja is Cupid and Ari is an enemy. When Shiva was engaged in penance and Cupid tried to distract him, Shiva burnt Cupid to ashes by opening his third eye. Chitraketu had made fun of that great Shiva, a great yogi who had destroyed even Kamadeva. Parvati got very annoyed with Chitraketu for his bad remarks against Shiva and cursed him to be born as an asura. The poet says that the god prompted Chitraketu to go to Kailasa and made this incident happen so that Chitraketu became totally free from attachments. Now, coming to the verse, Saha hi Atyanta Sanga Vilayaya, for the complete cessation of attachment. Bhavat Pranunnaha Noonam, verily prompted by you. Rupya Girim Apya, reaching the silver mountain Kailasa. Mahat Samaje, in the assembly of great people. Nishankam, without any inhibition. Ankakrita Vallabham, who had placed his beloved Parvati on his lap. Angajarim Tam Shankaram, that Shiva, the destroyer of Cupid. Parihasan Umaya Abhishepe, making fun of him. Chitraketu was cursed by Parvati. Nisambhramastvayamaya chitashapa moksho vritrasuratvamupagamya surendra yodhi bhaktyatma tattva katanai samare vichitram shatrorapi brahmamapasya gatapadam te. When the Vidyadhara chief Chitraketu was cursed by goddess Parvati to be born as an asura, he took it very calmly and did not even ask to be released from the curse. Eventually, he was born as Vritrasura. In verse number 3 of this Dasakam, it was said that Vishwarupa, the son of Tvashta, was made the preceptor by the Devatas. Since Vishwarupa's mother, Rachana, was the sister of the Asuras, Vishwarupa had a soft corner for the Asuras. In sacrifices of the Devas, Vishwarupa offered oblations to the Asuras also secretly. Indra discovered this and killed Vishwarupa. Then his father Tvashta performed a sacrifice in order to get a son who would kill Indra. Vritrasura was born from that sacrificial fire. Tvashta committed a mistake in the swara intonation while chanting the mantras, as a result of which, instead of being able to kill Indra, Vritra himself got killed by Indra. This episode is given as an example to stress the importance of pronouncing the swaras correctly while chanting the Vedic mantras. Vritrasura was a very powerful demon, and the gods found themselves unable to face him. Ultimately, Indra faced Vritrasura with the thunderbolt made from the bones of the sage Dadichi and killed him. In the battlefield, Vritrasura was able to give advice to Indra about the Supreme Self and enlighten him. Because in his previous life he was Chitraketu, the great devotee of Vishnu. When Vritrasura was ultimately killed, his soul merged with the Supreme Self. Vritrasya dehan nishkrantam atma jyotirarindama pashyatam sarvalokanam alokam samapadyata. Bhagavata Puranam, 6th Skanda, 12th Adhyaya, 35th verse, which means issuing forth from the body of the Vritrasura in the form of an effulgence, O Parikshit, the slayer of foes, the soul of Vritra got merged with the Lord, who is beyond all the material worlds, while all the people looked on with wonder. Now, coming to the verse, I am tu, he, Nissambramaha, not getting perturbed, Ayachita Shapa Mokshaha, one who did not ask for freedom from the curse. Vritrasuratvam Upagamya, becoming Vritrasura. Surendra Yodhi, Bhaktya, while fighting with Indra by his devotion, Atma Tattva Katanaihi, by imparting the knowledge of reality, Samare, in the battlefield, Shatroho Brahmam Api, the delusion of the enemy, Apasya, removing, Te Padam Gataha, he reached your place, Vaikunta. Vichitram, this is indeed very wonderful. Tvatsevanen ditirindravadodhyatapi tan pratyutendra suhrudo maruto bhilebe dushtashayepi shubhadaiva bhavannisheva tattadrishastvamavamam pavanalayesha. Diti, the wife of the sage Kashyapa, whose sons Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu were killed by God Vishnu at the instance of Indra, approached the sage wanting a son who would kill Indra. The sage Kashyapa told her that she would get such a son if she observed a certain vow strictly for 1 year. She committed some mistake during this period, as a result of which the 49 Maruts born to her became friends of Indra instead of becoming his enemies. Now, coming to the verse, Ditihi, Diti, the mother of the Asuras. Indra Vadodhyatapi, though wanting to kill Indra, Tvatsevanena, because of worshipping you, Pratyuta, on the other hand, Indra Suhrudaha, the well-wishers of Indra, Tan Marutaha Abhilebe, she got the Maruts as the sons. Bhavan Nisheva, worship to you. Dushtashaye api, even in the case of people having evil thoughts. Shubhada eva, gives auspiciousness only. He Pavanalayesha, O Lord of Guruvayur, Tat Tadrishaha Tvam Mam Ava, you who are of this nature, please protect me.